Hello and welcome to Thomas Listens, a podcast where I, Thomas, listen to an album, laud its praise for a couple of minutes, and then give it a slightly worse score than you would expect. And today, we're doing just that with Aloha by Sun Little. Aloha is a third studio album by Philadelphia singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrument player Aaron Livingston, who goes by the stage name of Sun Little. It's an absolute treat of an album. Heavily recommend it. Let's get into it. This album is a blend of a lot of things. It is most closely a soul album, but it's got these tastes of folk and R&B and rock and jazz and indie and blues and all these other styles that blend together to make it so much more than just a soul album. If you like anyone under the alternative and or indie or R&B landscape, you can hear tastes of them in here. People like Alt J or Khalid or Lauryn Hill or John Legend or Frank Ocean at some points, Mallrat occasionally, Hozier. Those last three not quite as much, but there's little snippets of just about anyone, and these all blended together into this album. And just about every instrument that was played here was played not only by Sun Little, but was a real instrument. We're talking electric guitars, drums, bass guitars, acoustic guitars, tambourines, clapping hands, and just enough synths and keyboards and fun sounds to kind of flavor the album here and there, all coupled with the absolutely astounding voice of Sun Little. That's smooth, that's strong, has a little bit of that blues rasp here and there that gives it a lot of texture, and it makes it just a joy to listen to. He's harmonizing with himself, but he's putting himself on different tracks and not like just getting away with auto-tuning it, and it's fantastic little blend and bottle of music. It gets a very, very timeless feel. It was released in 2020, but it's far from bound to modern music. It sounds like it could be released anytime, pretty much post-World War II, but the titles and names give it hint to how recent it was released. There's songs like About Her, Period Again, BB Baby, Never Give Up, which is Never Give Up without the R, and it all hints at like this modernness to it. Every single song on here is an all lowercase title, and it gets this very, once again, the timeless feel, because it feels just like it could be from whenever. All the songs sound super different. The BB Baby and Suffer are super stripped down and more personable songs and personal songs, while songs like Third Eye Weeping or Belladonna are more heavily produced. Nothing on this album's overly produced, but they're more dancey. I say that like you could dance to Hey Rose, the song's opener, but Never Give Up, you're probably not going to be dancing to. And it's all feels, I say this album feels like honey. It is sweet, it's smooth, it's rich, it's thick, but it's also simple at the same time. And the main element of it is Sun Little's voice and this kind of weave he creates musically that's such a joy to listen to. Granted, this album comes short a little bit in the meaning department. Most of the songs are love songs. From Hey Rose, the opening track, to Mahalia, which is about an apology at the beginning of the relationship, Belladonna, honestly, just about every song you can find some love element in it. But it doesn't feel like a relationship album. It feels like the stories the old man on the park tells you about his lost love, but most importantly about finding peace and about finding compassion. Because of that, the album is a lot more about kind of finding love as a feeling and a lot less about, oh, my relationship problems with this girl. And some of the songs like Suffer or Never Give Up deal with Aaron's uncle's suicide and coming to terms with that, and they're a little bit heavier, but it's all about doing that through loving and doing that through like growing and being okay with it and letting go. The closing song, After All I Must Be Gone, is about letting go, and this whole album, Sean Little has said, is an experience in letting go, because the original demo tapes he had got lost in a hard drive error, so he made the album in 8 days and then handed it off to a producer, which he's never done before. He's always produced his own stuff, to produce it, and it works out. There's enough going on with the physical words he's saying for you to bite into it. It's all rich with these metaphors, the symbolism, talking about a handful of rain and a mouthful of gold on Mahalia, talking about going through the jungle and ambrosia and all these like thick metaphors on belladonna, and it's cool and fun. In conclusion, this album is quaint but exquisite little bottle of blues, soul, R&B, all the other things mentioned above, and I would heavily recommend it to anyone. I'm giving this album an 8 out of 10 because that was the original score I gave it a couple months ago when I first listened to it. After doing this review, I might move it up to a 9, but considering that'd make it my 10th favorite album of all time, I'd have to look at like what else is at an 8 right now that should be at a 9. How do I really decide what a 9 really is? How do I make a top 10 list? Because there's a lot of good albums that I haven't given a 9 to. This is an absolutely fantastic album. If you find yourself in like dancing in a postmodern, timeless club in Paris in the early morning, and I would recommend it to anybody, listen to this album. Thank you so much, and have a good night.